Hello everyone. Qatar is a country in the Middle East with an area of only 11,571 square kilometers and a population of nearly 3 million people. Although quite small, their political stance is very rigid, not succumbing to pressure from stronger regional rivals like Saudi Arabia or Egypt. Why can they do that? Let's find out. Qatar is one of the 6 members of the Gulf Cooperation Council formed in 1981, including Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. They have close economic and political relationships with each other. Notably, they have a unified military command to create a common defensive shield, which means the members are allies of each other and Saudi Arabia is the big brother. However, apart from the unanimity in the Gulf War against Iraq from 1990 to 1991, Qatar has its own way as a rich country. In 1995, Emir Hamad Al Thani took power through a bloodless coup when his father was on vacation in Switzerland. Although an unfilial son, he was more progressive than his father when he became the leader. He aimed to break free from Saudi Arabia's control. Previously, Qatar had to ask for advice on everything like a vassal state. To do that, they needed a lot of money and relationships. At the time Hamad Al Thani rose to power, Qatar was preparing the first overseas shipment of liquefied natural gas, marking the beginning of their prosperity. With huge offshore gas reserves of about 24,000 cubic kilometers, accounting for 12% of the global total, Qatar is different from other Gulf countries that just had oil and were dominated by Saudi conglomerates. With natural gas, they could spread their wings and fly far. To break free from vassal status, they fostered close ties with Iran, Saudi Arabia's nemesis. Although differing in Islam, the two sides shared core interests. They both owned huge gas fields in the Persian Gulf, including the world's largest shared field. Ensuring security in the region was critical since Iran's military controls the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar proactively cooperated on defense to gain protection. In 1996, they took another step to anger Saudi Arabia. The state-owned media channel Al Jazeera was launched and is now very famous, with 80 offices including English and Arabic versions. It is one of the most outspoken news channels in the world, unafraid to criticize anyone. They dared to comment on many taboo issues in the Middle East, for example, criticizing Saudi Arabia's autocratic monarchy where the government censors dissent and imposes harsh laws like banning women from driving. They also denounced Egypt as an oppressive regime that regularly cracks down on the opposition. They even dared to criticize U.S. foreign policy. Moreover, anger in the Arab world against Qatar's media also related to the Muslim Brotherhood. This political group is designated as a terrorist organization by many regional countries because it aims to unify Islamic countries and then rule with Sharia law, like the Taliban in Afghanistan today. This poses a threat to the regimes of many Arab states. Qatar was a sponsor of the Muslim Brotherhood and regularly broadcast discussions about it. In 2002, before the U.S. invasion of Iraq, Qatar signed an agreement allowing the establishment of Al Udeid Air Base. This became the center of Washington's operations in the Middle East with 10,000 troops overseeing all military activities in the region. Qatar gained another protective shield, enabling it to break free of Saudi influence. They could speak their minds freely and did not fear any regional rivals. In one show, Qatar's channel interviewed Mohsen al-Awaji, a Saudi opposition politician who regularly criticized the royal government and foreign policy. So outraged, Riyadh withdrew its ambassador for 6 years in protest. However, after resuming ties, Qatar still did not learn its lesson and continued on its own path, against the interests of other Arab states. Tensions erupted in 2017 when Emir Tamim Al Thani made some infuriating remarks, calling Iran a great Islamic power and describing relations with Israel as good. This provoked the Saudi leader and allies. Although Qatar was still in the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, praising two enemies of the organization was unacceptable. Although Al Jazeera later claimed it was hacked, no one believed it. Meanwhile, Qatar further angered the allies by congratulating Iran's re-elected president days later and pledging deeper cooperation. Fed up, the other 5 GCC members severed diplomatic ties and imposed a full blockade on Qatar, closing borders, banning airspace, expelling citizens, and cutting off 40% of food supplies through Saudi Arabia. This caused an economic and social crisis in Qatar. The Arab states issued a 10-day ultimatum with 13 demands for Qatar to agree to. including shutting Al Jazeera, cutting ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, ending military cooperation with Iran, and removing Turkey's base. In response, Qatar immediately contacted Iran and Turkey for alternate supplies, easily done with money. To stop investors panicking and pulling funds out, Qatar pumped nearly $40 billion into the financial system to prop up the economy. Again, no issue given their $450 billion sovereign wealth fund from exporting resources. Although facing some initial hardships under blockade, Qatar refused to accept any demands, even allowing Turkey to expand its military base. Eventually, after nearly 4 years, the Arab states restored normal ties with Qatar in 2021. The U.S. mediated, arguing that further pressure would only push Qatar closer to Iran. It was best for everyone to compromise and coexist, avoiding instability in the region. So now, Qatar has close ties with both the GCC and US, as well as strong relationships with Turkey and Iran. When you have money, you sure play differently.